On May 27th, the First Nations community was shaken when the remains of 215 First Nations children were found in unmarked graves on what was once a residential school in Kamloops, BC. Some of the children were as young as 3 years old. These are the voices of our First Nations, pained by the loss, frustrated by systemic racism and oppression, and the stories of survivors who lived through horrific conditions at these schools. Since May 30th, Manitoba's First Nations members have been holding a 4-day ceremony in front of Manitoba's legislative building, honoring the lives of the 215 children who were found, and honoring the survivors for their truths, resiliency, and stories. Here is organizer Alayh McIvor.
What would you like to say to the government about this current situation?
You need to really action meaningful change. Survivors don't want your apology. Survivors moving forward will not accept your apologies anymore. If the government wants to make meaningful, actionable change, they will look at the monsters that they've created in those systems, those monsters that are still walking within our communities, possibly victimizing other peoples the way they victimized these survivors as they were children.
So what does that change look like?
A lot of these survivor stories have been dismissed from Canada, during the TRC truth tellings. That's a wave that I'm hearing here from all survivors. The government's perpetuated that. The government continue to act in those ways that they acted with the residential school while those truth tellings were occurring. A lot of these survivors here, their stories have been dismissed, and if they want to be in action, they will stop in their tracks of the syndromes that they're causing, the syndromes that they've created, such as the 60s child family services, taking the children away from them to disenfranchise them, disempower them, holding the power over the Indigenous people by taking their children away in different formalities, honoring them, compensating them properly, reinstating those claims. That's just a tip of that piece, but moving forward, hearing, listening, at a grassroots level is one of the most important things to do before that change needs to happen, right? Also, not negotiating with one of the NGOs on anything moving forward. They don't speak for us. They don't speak for us whatsoever. These survivors speak for themselves. These survivors will tell you straight on what they want. What they could do is look at an Indigenous perspective, offer Indigenous counseling here. Why is it that myself, a family member who's been impacted, why am I the one to be giving them counseling when Canada has an institution with hundreds and billions of dollars that I'm counseling all these elders, from their hurt and pain? Why couldn't they do that, So it really shows you, clearly on the commitment that they really have with Indigenous peoples.
And what sort of feedback would you like to see from the government and the Catholic Church with these 215 children?
The families want all the ground searched from where residential schools were. They're adamant that there's more bodies. That's another wave here of conversations that have been occurring of that's not just 215, there's more. We know. We've seen, and listening to my own mother's story, being a residential school, she had said, when she shared, is they would tie the children's arms and the legs and take them into the attic, and at night the children would disappear and they were dead and they never made it home. So my mom, I'm here also in honor of her, because her truth tellings here in Winnipeg were dismissed. Mm-hmm. She was left so powerless because they dismissed her story. Mm-hmm. They made her come here, sit in front of a court-like setting to tell her story, but then dismiss it while she's telling it. And so that's a continuum here. So how do you undo all that hurt? Yeah. And it's not even hurt that they caused themselves, it's hurt that an institution caused them. It's not only one institution either. There's 3 institutions there, that really need to look in the mirror at themselves and ask themselves, how do we abolish this? How do we abolish ourselves? Moving forward, how do we abolish, not perpetuating these acts, but also looking, at the spectrum that those people are still alive. So some of them, they're not held responsible. And by making change, you'll hold them accountable and responsible for what they've done. They have the names. They have the names of each and every one of those perpetrators that perpetuated sexual acts on them, who abused them, So the sacred fire here is for them to come and hurt, for them to come and cry, for them to come and be weak, for them to come in, to come and share, to come and teach, to come and see what love is from community, what love looks like from a community's perspective, what love looks like from the young perspective of their own peoples. Because a lot of them said we would have been crying at home alone if you did not do anything. So if that doesn't touch your heart, then I don't know if what will. It's again, this is a teaching moment for Canada, a teaching moment for people who just don't want to understand the issue, to come and listen, learn, and understand that this is real. And real textbooks, human life textbooks, can tell you stories that you will never hear in universities, and or research.